Hello, everybody. How's it going? Rob Dorr, Vice President of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. Do drop a comment in. Let me know where you are watching from, both the platform and kind of your general location. If you're in Minnesota or elsewhere, that'd be good to know. Looks like Brian's got the links in there. Excellent. We are suing the state of Minnesota again. I'll get into that in just a second and fill you guys in on all of that fun news. Also wanted to point out we do have our lobby day coming up in just a couple weeks here. February 26th, 26th. It's a Wednesday, January 20th. I promise. February 26th, Wednesday, February 26th. Starts at 9:30. That's your chance to sit across the table from your legislator and let them know how you feel about everything that's going on. We've got Josh from Otsego. Good to see you. Katie from Cass County. Good to see you as well. You've been hoping for this. Looks like Fire knows a little bit of the tea that I'm about to spill about our latest lawsuit. And Craig, I see Lake. My screen is cutting it off a little bit, so I apologize. Once another comment comes in, I'll give a shout out to Craig. Do let me know where you're watching from. Every comment that you post there helps get this out in the algorithm. Also, you can share it on your various social media platforms. We are streaming to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube, and recently to Rumble. Craig in Lakeville, thank you very much. Cass in Texas, good to see you, Cass, as well. Everybody, if you just make a comment real quick, share, interact with the live stream, it will help boost it out to more people in the various algorithms there on the various platforms. So again, back to Lobby Day. That is what I would call the most important event of the year. Gives you a chance. We'll give you some resources. We'll give you some information, some talking points about the various bills that are moving through the legislature, and then you get to go talk to your legislator and give them your feelings, your thoughts about those. So whether your legislator is on the pro-gun side or not, you get to voice your concerns. And that's infinitely more valuable than all the emails and text messages that you could see, because if you're willing to bring your butt down to the Capitol and look them in the eye, that's something that they can't just escape for. They can't give you a form letter, or have their legislative assistant just wave you off. You're there looking at them face to face. So do go over to our website, gunowners.mn, and check out all of those details. We also have our rally coming up on March 25th. The rally is an opportunity for all of us to get together and unite and meet each other, network with each other. We hear lots of really great things about different events that go on all over the state from people who got to know each other at our rally. And so that's great. That'll be 11:30 on Saturday, March 25th. So mark that in your calendar. Before I get to the lawsuit again and what we're suing over, please do comment, share, get us boosted in that algorithm. We do have multiple pro-gun bills that are moving through the state legislatures that are in committee. We've got, of course, our constitutional carry, stand your ground bills. Those ones are ones that we fight for every single session. We have had success, although it's been a long time, getting Stand Your Ground passed. It unfortunately met a veto by then Governor Mark Dayton, but we persist. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. We have multiple legislators introducing our language on both constitutional carry and stand your ground. And you can find all of these bills that I'm talking about at our bill tracker. If you go to gunowners.mn, you'll see the get involved section there. And then our bill tracker is there with all the pro gun and anti gun bills that are moving forward. We've had committee hearings on getting rid of the arbitrary shotgun only zone, allowing you to use rifles statewide. We've had a hearing on that, and I'm working with the author of that bill to help try to get it over the finish line. And then we've had a bill addressing the state fairs ban on carrying of firearms on state property, trying to clarify that language, which the courts have used rather inexplicably to try to justify one state organization's ability to limit the right to carry on state property. There's also a bill for tax exemption on gun safes, which every little bit helps. That's great. And then I think there's a few others out there as well, and we've been working diligently on behalf of Minnesota's lawful gun owners. Sarah from Duluth, good to see you very much watching on YouTube. I appreciate that. Um, and then, so lots of things moving down at the state capitol, and the Democrats have finally decided to show up and start working. There was a deal worked out where Lisa Dameth is the speaker for the next 2 years. There's going to be some joint powers shared among committee members. The Republicans have a majority on the fraud committee, which is something that they're very excited about, trying to investigate fraud and waste. If you look at the Feeding Our Future fraud that happened, where millions of dollars in state funds were misappropriated and given out for things that weren't the purposes, so they'll be able to root some of that out. But guys, the speakership is the ball game. The speaker decides what gets heard on the floor. They rule on motions on the floor, and they are the ones who get to decide the agenda. And that means with Speaker Dameth at the helm, we are going to be in a strong position to prevent any anti-gun bills from getting through, but also in a strong position to put some pro-gun bills through the state house and get them over to the Senate. Now, they are a little bit behind the eight ball this session. They still have to get a budget done, and because the Democrats refuse to show up for a month, they are behind. But we're optimistic. We're very sure that we'll be able to put a stop to any anti-gun bills that are moving forward, and have a strong likelihood of getting some pro-gun bills sent over to the Senate so that we can get some roll call votes on those measures, which is what we're here for. With a divided government, with the government in the state that it is in Minnesota right now, sometimes the best we can hope for is putting a stop to the bleed, and then trying to do corrective action. And one of the best ways that we can do that is to get very vulnerable members on the record opposing your constitutional rights. And we do that very effectively. Now, another way that we can address remedies is we can sue the state or various government entities when they are violating your constitutional rights. Fire over in Champlin, thank you very much. I appreciate you for checking in there. Now, I want you guys, I've got a video clip here. This is what the end of session looked like last legislative session. The Minnesota House introduced, and the Senate introduced a 1,500-page omnibus bill, buttoning up all sorts of regulations, in a bill in which the title of the bill spanned over 4 pages, 4 pages long. Just the title of the bill, talking about everything that the bill touched. 1,500 pages, hundreds of sections of statutes being updated. And this is how it got passed at the end of the last legislative session.
Giving this, the majority has to use the tools it has to get its work done, and therefore I move the previous question.
Representative Long has moved the previous question. Do I see 15 hands for the previous question? Seeing 15 hands, the motion for the previous question has been properly seconded.
Officer, I request a new presiding officer. Madam Speaker, Section 126,
The clerk will call
I
the
request
name
a
of
new
the member
presiding
voting
officer that
remotely.
recognizes the voice of the
Carol.
majority.
Madam Speaker, parliamentary inquiry. Madam
Carol,
Madam
The
Speaker,
clerk will close the roll.
parliamentary inquiry.
So let me know your thoughts about that. That's how the bill passed. If you heard the Republicans screaming various points of parliamentary inquiry, which are supposed to stop all business on the floor. If you guys watch the video there, Representative Jim Nash is walking up to the rostrum there and showing that the bill itself was actually not even posted on the website. So here we have legislators voting on a bill in which they have not actually read. It was 1,500 pages introduced in the final 10 minutes of session, and they voted on it in the final few minutes of session. They had not obviously read the bill. They didn't know what they were voting on, and they were, shouting out various points of parliamentary inquiry and all things like that. So that's how the bill passed. Now, in the wake of that, I'm sure you could understand that Speaker Hortman was very apologetic about that, and offered up an extremely valid explanation about why she ignored all the points of parliamentary inquiry, ignored the House rules, ignored the Mason's rules of legislative procedure. She had a very good explanation, and I've got that one queued up here.
The Democrats in the Minnesota House of Representatives did what we
The Democrats in the House did what they needed to do to pass their agenda. So that was her reason. We had power, so we used it. Now, something interesting here. Minnesota State's Constitution states that in order for a bill to be constitutional, it has to cover a single subject, and that subject has to be described in the title of the bill. Now, the Minnesota House and the Minnesota Senate have traditionally gotten around this by just listing out all of the sections of the bill and everything that's in the bill. They just list it all out in the title, and so that's why this title of the bill was 4 pages. Because in order for a bill to be kosher with the Minnesota Constitution, it has to be the subject of the bill has to be expressed in the title. And the Supreme Court has held that, well, hey, as long as it's in the title, it doesn't matter if it touches 100 different sections of statute, as long as it's in the title. But subsequent Supreme Court rulings in Minnesota have held that there must be a common thread among the portions of the bill. So maybe you have a taxing bill that taxes different items, and then it spends on items that cover multiple different portions of statute. The Supreme Court has held, the Minnesota Supreme Court has held that as long as there's a connecting thread, taxing and spending, for example, that meets the single subject clause. But here's the problem with the Democrats' Frankenstein omnibus bill that they put forward in the last minutes of session. They're one of the provisions in there, something that's of interest to us, is a ban on binary triggers. So it prohibits the ownership, possession of, or distribution of binary triggers. Now, whether or not you like binary triggers, that's not really the issue here. Whether they're good to have, bad to have, that's not the issue. The issue is that that portion of the bill had no taxing in it and no spending in it. So if it has no taxing and it has no spending, and the justification for every other provision of the bill is taxing and spending, that makes the bill facially unconstitutional. And that's what we're suing the state over. Well, we're seeking to have them toss out the Frankenstein omnibus bill in their entirety, or in the alternative, exempt the binary trigger portion as that is unrelated. So ideally, they're not going to try to parse out which parts of the bill are constitutional or aren't constitutional. They'll just punt it back to the legislature. Now with Speaker Dameth as the speaker, they'll punt it back to the legislature and say, hey, you guys need to figure out this bill and construct it in a way that satisfies the Minnesota State Constitution. And so that's where we're at right now. We did file a lawsuit. We are suing everybody, Ellison, the state of Minnesota, suing the Commissioner of Public Safety, and we needed somebody who would be. We have one of our members who lives in Hennepin County, and feasibly Hennepin County Attorney's Office is going to be met with enforcing this bill. And so we're suing them on their behalf as well. So the goal is to finally get some words from the Minnesota State Supreme Court about just how far the legislature can go in constructing these monstrous omnibus bills, which have been used time and time and time again to enact unconstitutional and unpopular gun control measures. So if you have any questions about that, do let me know in the comments. The comments have kind of cooled off a bit. You guys are going to chill us out in the algorithm, so feel free to ask me some questions as they come up. Again, for those of you just tuning in, we are suing the state of Minnesota for violation of the single subject clause of the Minnesota Constitution. We also do have our lobby day coming up on February 26th. That's a Wednesday at 9:30. We would love to see you guys there. You guys can get all of those details on our website. And if you guys appreciate us doing the fight, sometimes we meet roadblocks at the state legislature. That does not slow us down. We don't run away and go to other states and try to raise money there to meet the same roadblocks. The only thing you will see us doing is fighting for your Second Amendment rights. And if we can't get any traction in the state legislature, we will get traction in the courtrooms, and we will bring it up right now. We have a case that we won against the state of Minnesota, denying 18, 19, and 20-year-old adults their right to carry and get a permit to carry under Minnesota's law. Keith Ellison has appealed that all the way up to the Supreme Court, and we will continue to fight him there. I do want to give a shout out to the Upper Midwest Law Center. They are partners with us, and they're doing the lion's work of the litigation in this. So big shout out to Upper Midwest Law Center. So you guys can head over to ulmc.org to show them some appreciation. But also, if you appreciate us fighting for you both at the Capitol and in the courtroom, if you scroll back in the comments there, Brian has put in the links. You can go to gunowners.mn/donate and make a donation to our work at the state capitol and in the courtroom. And then if you want to make a tax-deductible donation, that can't be used for any lobbying or gun rights advocacy at the Capitol, but what it can be used for is suing the state of Minnesota. So you can find that over at the Gun Owner Support Fund at gunowners.mn/ I think it's support-fund. But if you go to gunowners.mn, all of the links are there. CJ says, this is fantastic news. Thank you for taking this on. You learned about this only after the bill was passed. I agree. Thanks for the hard work. We look like California if it was not for the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. Thank you, Craig. We are trying very hard to keep Minnesota from being cold California. So I appreciate that. Do you guys, just share this out. Let's help get the word out. If I will set this to restream. So right now it's about 11:30. And I will set this to restream a couple times throughout the day. So if you're looking at it and it's dark outside and you're wondering why I'm not reading your comments, it's because it was pre-recorded. But we know everybody's working. You guys are doing different things at different times of the day. So I do like to rebroadcast this just so that everybody gets the info at a time and gets it. We get it in front of their eyes in a manner that's convenient to them. So appreciate that. Yay for Upper Midwest Law Center. Absolutely. All right. Maybe what I will do here is, for those of you just tuning in, I've seen we've got about another 80 people who have joined since I last played the video. We are suing the state of Minnesota, and I will replay the video here of the Frankenstein Omnibus Bill, as we're calling it, as it was passed at the end of the last legislative session.
Giving this, the majority has to use the tools it has to get its work done, and therefore I move the previous question.
Representative Long has moved the previous question. Do I see 15 hands for the previous question? Seeing 15 hands, the motion to the previous question, motion properly seconded.
Presiding officer, I request a new presiding officer. Madam Speaker, section 126.
The clerk will call
I
the
request
name
a
of
new
the member
presiding
voting
officer that
remotely.
recognizes the voice of the
Madam
minority.
Speaker, parliamentary inquiry. Madam Speaker, parliamentary inquiry.
So that's great, right? That's what we want from government, right? This bill had no committee votes. It was never heard in committee. It was never seen before it hit the floor in the final minutes of session. That was it. And I'll play this again too. This was um, Speaker Hortman at the time just being very, very contrite in the manner in which the bill was passed in violation of Minnesota House rules, in violation of the Masons Manual for Legislative Procedure, and now, as our lawsuit is asserting, in violation of the Minnesota State Constitution.
The Democrats in the Minnesota House of Representatives did what we
And now we are doing what we need to do to protect the constitutional rights of Minnesotans. We are suing the state. This bill is unconstitutional in both the manner in which it's passed and its contents. Now, some of you are asking, we are not raising a Second Amendment claim on this. If we did that, that would bring it into federal court. We do have that option available to us. We feel like the strongest avenue right now to get it addressed, and also just to prevent gun control measures from being lumped into these garbage bills in the future, is going to be getting clarification from the Minnesota State Supreme Court about how far can these omnibus bills go before they are unconstitutional. Because we've seen time and time again, both Republicans and Democrats excuse their votes for gun control because they were crammed in a bill full of things that they actually wanted or they actually liked. So they might vote for a provision that that adds registration to firearms, but it also gave $10 million to their community, and they'll say, well, I didn't like the registration of firearms, but I had to vote for it if I wanted you wanted that funding for my community. And this is the conundrum that they're always put in with these garbage omnibus bills. So we are looking to put a stop to that practice and saying that if you want to vote on a bill, it has to be a single subject. This ridiculous practice, and it's happened on Republicans and Democrats. It's nobody's hands are cleaner. I haven't seen a bill passed quite in that fashion in my 16 sessions at the state capitol, but 16 years, far more than that sessions if you count special sessions, I guess. But in any case, that this practice has to stop, and that's why we're suing the state with our friends at the Upper Midwest Law Center. So, if you have any questions, please do put them in. Let me see here. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, well, at least I can see the questions better now. So I know I'm a little bit smaller, but now I can actually read the text. Shout out from the M Guns Discord. Thank you guys. Good to see you guys here. This bill was just rammed through, and Dems can say they got what they promised. Yeah, I mean, they said that their agenda was more important than following the state constitution, and that's just unacceptable. So I agree with you there. Those of you joining us, we've got another 40 people watching that I've seen across the various platforms. I'm Rob Dorr with the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, and we are suing the state of Minnesota for violating the single subject clause of the Minnesota State Constitution. If you guys head over to gunowners.mn, we've got our events there. We've got our lobby day coming up on February 26th. It's a Wednesday. That's your chance to sit across the table with your legislator and look them eye to eye and let them know how you feel about this. Maybe drop a line about, hey, if you guys don't like getting sued all the time, maybe you should stop doing unconstitutional shit. Sometimes that's good to look at them and say. We also have our rally coming up on March 25th. That's a Saturday, and would appreciate seeing you guys there. That starts at 11:30. We do have bills introduced that are in committee right now. We have stand your ground bills being introduced by a few of our allies. We have constitutional carry bills. We have state fair carry, trying to address the state fairs unstatutory, anti-statutory ban at their of firearms that's on the state fairgrounds, not only during the state fair, but they get to regulate that whenever they want. We have tax exemption on gun safes. That's actually not our bill, but it is a bill that we support. So appreciate that moving through. And then we also have ending the arbitrary shotgun, handgun only zone and allowing people to use rifles statewide. But unfortunately, we are meeting some Republican resistance on that bill out of Olmsted County. So we do have some work to do there in order to get that passed. But Senator Steve Drazkowski is pushing forward with that one, and we are working with him closely on that. So, all right. I don't see any more questions or comments coming up. I've run through kind of the things that I have to talk about. I'll hang out here for just a minute more. And see if you guys have any other questions or comments about what we're doing or what's coming up. But once again, we are suing the state of Minnesota for violating the single subject rule of the Minnesota Constitution in their Frankenstein Omnibus Bill, as we're calling it, the Frankenstein Omnibus Bill. And that violates the Minnesota single subject rule. Specifically, our standing for this is that it directly impacts our members and our supporters who own binary triggers. Binary trigger was included as a portion in that bill, but had no taxing, no spending, no connection whatsoever to the rest of the bill. So we are asserting that that violates the single subject clause, and the Minnesota Supreme Court will ultimately have to be the ones to address that. We did have a file in Ramsey County District Court. Of course, Minnesota is plagued with what is it, 15 or 16 years of Democrat-appointed judges across the state. That's not always the case that their ideologies follow along those lines, but sometimes it is. And it's possible we're going to lose at the district court level, and we might lose at the appellate court level. But at the Supreme Court, even though it is, again, all Democrat appointees up there, they have been remarkably textualist in some of their applications. So even when things come out to very undesirable ends, they have to say they've looked at the text of the Constitution or of our state statutes, and they will look at it and say, hey, this is what the law says, and you guys aren't following it, or this is what our Constitution says, and you guys aren't following it. This isn't really an open question. You guys just aren't doing that. Most recently, they did that when they struck down Tim Walz calling for a special election outside of the timelines that are established in Minnesota statute. So, they're not always just towing a party line or anything like that. And we're optimistic that once this case makes it up there, hopefully we can get relief for the entire Frankenstein omnibus bill being tossed out. But at the minimum, we should be able to get relief for the for our members and supporters who support owning or possessing binary triggers, as that was lumped into this Frankenstein omnibus bill without really any justification. Chief Chief is asking, can the DFL be sued for illegal swearing in and no show for 3 weeks? So probably not. There is some ambiguity in the language about when, whether the swearing in at the noon on the beginning of session is something that is obligatory or if that's ceremonial. Maybe they can be sued. It's not going to be by us. That's a little bit tangential to our mission and our action. That would require some more deep diving into those particular provisions. But it is a good question. And vacating the seats, probably not. I think the remedy for that would be just kind of forcing them to do an appropriate swear in. A rigid reading of the statute would mean that if you didn't actually get all the swearing in done at exactly noon, that those people aren't legitimately seated or something like that. That one. Got a call coming in. Sorry. All right. I don't see any other questions coming in. I will play the Frankenstein omnibus bill passage one more time for those of you who may have missed it, and then we will sign off. I will repeat this video a couple times throughout the day just to make sure that it gets in front of everybody's eyes. And if you do, again, appreciate the work that we're doing, please do go to gunowners.mn/join. join us as a member of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. This is what your support does. It allows me to be down here at the Capitol, shaking my fist and pounding doors and writing bills and testifying in committee. It allows us to be showing up in the courtroom to defend your rights when we meet legislative roadblocks or when there's a direct infringement. And we keep doing it and we keep winning. And so if you guys want to join the winning team and keep us in the fight, please do go to gunowners.mn. Thank you. I will play that video one last time.
Giving this, the majority has to use the tools it has to get its work done, and therefore I move the previous question.
Representative Long has moved the previous question. Do I see 15 hands for the previous question? See 15 hands. The motion for the previous question. Section properly seconded.
Madam Speaker, Masons 126, complaints against the presiding officer. I request a new presiding officer. Madam Speaker, Section 126,
The clerk will call
I
the
request
name
a
of
new
the member
presiding
voting
officer that
remotely.
recognizes the voice of the
Madam
majority.
Speaker, parliamentary inquiry. Madam Speaker.